This is the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Welcome to the jungle. All right, welcome to the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Today I have two very special guests with me. We're kicking this podcast back off right. We took several months off. I got frustrated and put the podcast down for a while because I did a podcast with Landon Bador. We did an hour, had a great conversation. John Asher was a part of that. Mm-hmm. And I lost all of the audio because of my very inept ability to do podcasting cheaply. So upgraded some stuff. So I've got some new equipment. But I've got John Asher here and Natalie, the power couple of TXVV Fort Worth, Jiu-Jitsu and Karate. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Well, thank you all for joining me on kicking this back off. I don't know if you noticed, but we have cameras today. We're doing some recording, so we're going to try to do some video of this also. So we're going to try to take it up a notch on the advice of Professor Donnie Bador. He's got a podcast where he does video, and it's been doing really well. So I figured I'd try to add some new aspects to our podcast and get it going again. So how are things going, guys?
Good.
Yeah.
Both on summer vacation.
Yes.
Getting everything.
Thankfully.
Yeah. School ended well.
For the most part.
For the most part.
It definitely ended.
Yeah.
It definitely ended.
Good. Well, so a couple things I want to talk about. First, relaunching the podcast, right? We're going to have some video now. We're going to have some better equipment so we can have some better quality podcasts. And I was talking about changing up the format a little bit. So I want to get your opinion, Natalie, because I was talking to John Asher and Jennifer about it today over lunch. And so one of the things I want to try to change, or maybe not every podcast, but a couple podcasts a month, or maybe one podcast a month, is doing a thing where we eat, roll, and podcast, right? And so we all like barbecue in our family.
Yeah.
You like barbecue too, but maybe not as much as us.
Probably not.
Yeah. So I feel meat, roll, podcast, right? So I could have a guest come on, right? Someone from our school, or I've been talking about getting Master Wah to come on. And so I can invite him on and say, hey, let's do meat roll podcast. And we go eat barbecue, or actually probably do it first, do a roll, then eat barbecue, and then do the podcast. Because probably don't want to eat barbecue, then go roll.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah. We could talk about barbecue, talk about different foods that we eat, because I love food. And then have, Master Wall just beat the tar out of me for a few rounds, because you always learn when you get beat up. And then do a podcast and talk about different things.
Yeah.
Sound good? You like it?
I do.
Yeah? Yeah, you think it would be successful?
I think, yeah.
I want to be the first person on it.
Yeah.
Because I want to eat meat and podcast and roll.
All right, let's test it out. We'll do it next week.
Bet.
What do you bet?
Yeah, bet.
Bet.
Yeah.
Cousins.
Yeah. Awesome. So summer started. You guys just got back into jiu-jitsu. You were gone for camp for 2 weeks. John Asher and Natalie, you took a week off of jiu-jitsu because you just wanted to take a break, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're all back, and I never took a break. I just keep going. I'm always there. So what's the goal for the summer with your martial arts?
Definitely improve and set new goals.
Yeah. Any particular improvement?
Not off the top of my head, but I'd say just work better on my defense. Yeah,
defense in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, that's a good one. You're what, orange belt now? Orange belt? Is that where you are?
I'm a green belt.
You're a green belt.
Yeah.
What? You are a green belt.
Yeah.
So you're like around the corner from blue.
Yeah. So what I'm planning to do is not this testing, but I can't even make it this testing, but I'm waiting until after my birthday to test so I can get my blue belt as going into adults.
Okay. So in September, when we test, right? Don't we test in September again? I think so.
I think so, yeah. In
September or early August, you'll test for a blue belt. Dang, girl. You're right there, getting spicy.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to do is I like to set SMART goals, right? You ever heard of SMART goals?
Maybe.
Yeah. Specific. All right. So SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. right? So those are like the 5 criteria for setting goals. We talked about it on the podcast before.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a SMART goal between now and when you take your blue belt that you want to accomplish.
Like what do you mean by smart? Like,
Yeah, so it's got to be specific,
Uh-huh.
measurable.
Okay.
Okay, it's got to be attainable. Okay, realistic and time bound.
That's hard. I need a moment to think about
Think
that.
about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Asher. All right, summertime.
What's my
You'll
goals?
probably be testing for a blue belt in probably the next 6 to 8 months, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
You're not too far behind Natalie.
Yeah.
She's been training a little bit longer than you, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, your skill level, I would assume that you're going to be testing for blue belt. What's a goal that you have?
A goal that I have, probably just turn my rolling up a notch in like intensity and like pressure wise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think technique wise, I feel like I'm doing better as far as like recognizing moments to use certain techniques.
Yeah.
But I want to like turn up the intensity a little bit and like the pressure. I just want to be like pressuring everybody, you know?
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, you want to learn how to control people better
Mhm.
using your body weight and pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And that's by blue belt, right?
Yeah.
You're going to feel more confident in that. So what are some things you're going to do to make that happen?
Roll with bigger people more because if I can roll bigger people and control them, I can control someone smaller, you know, and just rolling with everyone higher than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I like it. It's good. Natalie, back at you.
Okay. For me, I think it's just making like my rounds that I roll with people difficult for everybody.
Mhm.
And although like, yes, I'm probably gonna be beat like thousands, millions of times.
Yeah.
I just want to make it at least like challenging or difficult for
Yeah.
different people that I roll with, or at least like almost everybody I roll with.
Sure.
That way, like, I don't know, like I see more grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. So I get to roll with you guys frequently because we train together. And John Asher, you just turned 16 in January, so you're about, 16 and a half, we'll say.
Yeah.
Natalie, you'll be 16 in what,
September.
3 months,
Mhm.
right? So you guys are about the same age. And I'll say this, just probably since the beginning of the year, John Asher, you're rolling last night when we rolled together.
Mhm.
Way better. I've seen a lot of improvement in your pressure, saw a lot of improvement in your technique. Neon Belly is miserable with you. You're always trying to get me Neon Belly.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and it's effective, right? Because you know how to use that knee right in the right spot to make people grunt, groan, and move, or not move because you've got so much pressure on them. So yeah, I mean, you've done a lot better. I've seen your growth hockey stick just in the last 6 months. So it's been really good.
Thank
Natalie, last time I rolled with you a couple weeks ago before you guys took a break and went on vacation, I told you this, that your rolling is night and day different. It's like a different person.
Thank you.
Back around Christmas time, you were still kind of like not using as much of your weight and your strength. I mean, you still had a lot of good technique, but I would say that you were rolling like somebody who's going for a blue belt, right?
Thank you.
Really? I mean, serious. And both of you, I think you have really good head on your shoulders. You know how to think through scenarios. You know how to see opportunities when they arise for submissions or transitions and things like that. So you guys are progressing nicely, and I love to see it.
And your control with guard and that freaking
Lasso.
the lasso thing.
Yeah.
I can't I genuinely when I'm rolling with her, I can't
Thank
beat
Donnie
it.
for that.
Huh?
Thank Donnie for that.
Like I can't do anything. It's annoying.
Yeah. So lasso guard's giving you trouble?
A lot. But her guard in general is because I'll start passing it and she'll get either one knee or something and I just can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And then she'll get the lasso guard and I don't know which shoulder is in guard or out of guard. So I don't know what to do with this hand because I don't know if I want to go to out and get triangled or if I keep it in. So I don't know what's happening at all.
Have you learned the lasso guard reversal? Did we go over that?
Yes, but it does not stick to me for some
It
reason.
doesn't stick. We'll go over it again. I think you could definitely flip him over on his
Yeah.
back and mess him up. Yeah. So, I think you guys are going to you definitely are both ready.
It was loud.
You can hear everything on these microphones. You guys are definitely ready to test blue belt soon. So I can't wait to see that happen.
Thank you.
Right around the corner. So one of the things I want to talk about too is in regards to jiu-jitsu and instructing, right? You have a lot of what do you call it? Experience instructing. You taught kids karate a lot. You've taught some jiu-jitsu. John Asher, you've taught kids jiu-jitsu a couple times. You've helped me teach some jiu-jitsu to the kids. I've been doing some jiu-jitsu training with the homeschool kids that are in the classical conversations class at Parker's Inn, and a few of the friends that are not all of them are in classical conversations, but most of them. And so I've seen a lot in the last 6 months, teaching these kids. And I see memes about, teaching the kids in the kids' jiu-jitsu class and teaching them how to heel hook and all that kind of stuff. And but I haven't done any of that, right? But I wanted to get your opinions on some of the things that you've seen with teaching kids. What are some of the struggles, and things like that. So first off, I think it's very important for kids. I would say I try to teach kids that were as young as 5 years old. Last semester. We did 10 classes. So I had 5-year-olds, 6-year-old, some 7-year-olds, and then all the way up to I think 12 or 13. Everybody from 7 and up, they were able to, conceptualize. They could, remember what we needed to do, at least, to some degree, where it wasn't like you're constantly feeling like you're herding cats, right? But we had the couple or three that were below 4, 5, and 6 was a little bit more difficult. And you have to have somebody else there if you're teaching that larger group of people. Somebody's got to concentrate on the kindergartners and somebody's got to concentrate on the bigger kids. And so John Asher helped me out a lot on that. So that was something that was eye-opening to me because I thought, I've worked with kids before. I've done, I've worked in pediatrics when I was a nurse and all that type of stuff. So I thought I had a pretty good handle, but trying to get 4 or 5, 6 years old to concentrate and pay attention for an hour is impossible. So that's what I've seen. What have you guys seen in that?
I agree with you. Getting kids, especially younger kids, to concentrate for a long period of time is very challenging. But I think even though there's a lot of challenges trying to get these kids to understand certain moves that may be easy for some kids to understand but harder for the young kids to understand is breaking it into smaller pieces. And I think as an assistant instructor, what I've seen is we take chunks of moves, even though it may not be the full movement of it, you just take a chunk of it, break it down even more than what it needs to be, work through that first, get that down, and then go to the bigger chunks of it. But I think the most rewarding part of it is just is to see them grow and then just see the confidence in them grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, John Asher? What do you see?
Mostly just with the younger kids or with the older kids, when we're doing our thing. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah. So
both.
Both. Yeah.
With the older kids, I think what's cool about them is that they think it's jiu-jitsu is really cool because they're younger and it's I get to learn how to fight and choke my friends out and stuff. Yeah. They can sometimes get carried away with that, and think of it as I could really hurt somebody if I don't be careful. The younger kids, I think the younger kids were really just there because their parents wanted to be there. Yeah. And they didn't really know what was going on or anything. And then when you're teaching them the moves, back in classical conversations in the fall or spring, whenever we did that, it was they didn't I don't think they fully had control of their limbs and everything. They did, but just wasn't connecting as much to where you tell them to do one thing and they would struggle just to move there like that. Yeah. Opposed to the older kids, and that's really what made it harder to teach the moves individually. For the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. It takes another. Definitely, you have to have an assistant helping when you have younger kids. But I did see we had a couple of the younger kids that really, even though we had to redirect a lot of times and kind of get them back on track, they picked up a lot of the techniques, and we would do open mat and roll. They were destroying some of the other kids because even though you didn't realize that they picked that stuff up, they totally picked that stuff up. And it's just amazing to see kids even as young as 4 and 5 or 6 that could, roll like that and remember some of the techniques that we taught them.
Have you seen that video of that one little girl and I think it was Nog or something like that, and she's 7 and she flips the guy over and arm bars him midair and everything.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
I did. Yeah, that was insane.
It's crazy.
Or doing a flying triangle, these little 7-year-old kids doing Naga flying triangles. I'm like, what in the world? And then we have a friend that used to go to church with us. Their daughter, Maddox, has been doing jiu-jitsu for about a year now, and she's doing Naga and AGF and World League and all this kind of stuff, and she looks like a little beast. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. You saw the videos of her.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And I think she even had a televised fight on UFC Fight Pass just a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
That's
So
insane.
what are some of the most impressive things you've seen teaching kids jiu-jitsu?
Okay, for me, it's not necessarily like the technique and move parts. It's always just seeing like them grow like as a person. Because usually like when kids like first start jiu-jitsu or karate, they're always like super like in their own bubble.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to listen to like certain people, or like they won't listen at all, and they only want to go to their parents. But once you break through that ice, it's, for me, it makes me so happy to see like these kids like being able to have fun and doing what they're doing, have confidence, self-discipline, like listening to other people now and other adults.
Yeah.
Which like it's a little challenging at first, but
Yeah.
for me, it's my favorite part to see. Just them grow as a person.
Growing as a
I
person.
think I was that kid when I did karate at first.
What about you? What is something that you've been impressed with seeing kids training jiu-jitsu early?
Probably just like how some kids pick it up so naturally compared to other kids that just kind of like takes more work and effort to get them to. Like we had some kid that would just come up and just like do the first class and like absorb literally every single thing we did.
Yeah.
And then roll against the kids who've been doing it for 6 weeks, and then they like whoop them, and it's like, well, how does that make any sense? And it's just kind of cool.
You have somebody particular in mind?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Mabry,
yes. Man, you had to meet her. If you want to come help us teach on Tuesdays, I'll come get you and you can help us teach. But
Sure.
Mabry's a little girl. She is what, 9, maybe 10?
I have no idea.
Anyway, she's doing the homeschool jiu-jitsu class with us.
Mm-hmm.
And her brothers have been doing it they did this spring class for 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've had, I think 4 classes this semester, maybe 5. And she's had, I mean, you can literally hear it.
Yeah.
But she's had, she's picked up everything. I mean, she absorbed all the techniques. I showed them cross collar choke or X choke the first class. And we were rolling afterwards. She'd never taken a jiu-jitsu class. This is her first class. And we start rolling. And so she's grappling and she's catching her brothers and all their friends in X chokes. And it was insane. I mean, it's like she was crawling all over them like a spider monkey. And they were getting so frustrated with her. They're like, how are you doing this? You just started jiu-jitsu today. But it's really fun to watch her. She's definitely, and then Maya, who was, I think she was 6 last semester. I didn't realize that she was absorbing like not only the techniques, but the names of the techniques. And so we were like 6 weeks in, and someone was demonstrating one of the moves, and she's like, no, that's not closed guard. This is closed guard. That's not side control. This is side control. That's not how you X choke. This is how you X choke. And like, I was like, what in the world? So her dad is Soul. And so it's his daughter. And so it's been really cool seeing these kids that you just don't realize how much they absorb, but I also feel like for that 10 weeks, they learn some skills to be able to go out to the world. Like if they got bullied or if somebody's picking on them, they can defend themselves. And that was kind of the goal, is to help them be able to defend themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
Not really.
Not really.
They love rolling.
Yeah, I let them roll after every class because I found out really quick that once we started letting them roll, and they would just roll time after time. Like we'd do 3-minute matches, and they'd do 5 or 6 or 7 matches and still want to do more. And I bet that's like everybody. It's like like us last night. I think I rolled 6 matches last night, and like 4 of them were the same person.
I had 5.
Yeah. You didn't roll last night, though.
Not that much.
Not
I wasn't feeling
She
the
rolled me.
greatest.
Yeah.
And last one guard me.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. So we'll transition out of that. So one of the things I also wanted to start talking about is like I'm super into like fringe, like Christianity type stuff, right? And conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff. So let me see if I have my Bible app on this phone real quick. But one thing that I wanted to just kind of touch on and talk about was, and Professor Bador is probably going to be like, what the heck, John? Because he thinks I'm crazy. And I am a little crazy, so that's all right.
Aren't we
So,
all?
yeah. So some of the fringe stuff, I think a good jumping off point for getting into some of the fringe Bible stuff is Genesis 6, right? And Genesis 6, 1 through 4, right? And I'll read this out. So this is about the increasing corruption on the earth, right? That's the title of this section. When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. When the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them, these were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man who I've created from the face of the land, man and animals, creeping things and birds of the heaven, for I'm sorry that I've made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So that's the last section right before
The flood.
the flood, right? So what do you think that means? What is that about? I mean, this is one thing that got me kind of diving into some of the weird stuff in the Bible that nobody talks about.
Mm-hmm.
So that first 4 verses, what do you guys think that is? What is that all about?
The way I think of it is like, I read it and like knowing what the definition of the Nephilim are, like kind of like what they actually are.
Yeah.
If you look at like the Bible and everything, you know, the offspring of the fallen angels and the humans.
Okay, who are the fallen angels?
Not demons, but
the sons of God.
The sons of God.
Yeah.
And how they were evil, right? And they weren't good, like the giants and all them. Mm-hmm. I think that's was the Nephilim. But the way I think of it is that people were to say that people who are evil was like just regular people who just became super corrupted, I would think that we'd be worse now. Just if you look at our earth now and like how corrupted it is now, you'd think, how could it be that much worse than what it already is now?
Yeah.
Kind of how I think of it. It's like kind of makes me think that it was more than just, our own corruptness. It was like more than that.
It was more than that. You think something else was added to that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Natalie, what are you thinking over there?
I honestly don't know. This is my first time actually thinking about this. Yeah.
It's a deep dive, Natalie. Yeah. It's one of those ones. There's a couple books I've read about it. So Michael Heiser is a theologian. He's passed away now. He had cancer and passed away about a year ago. But he has a couple documentaries that he put out about this called the Unseen Realm, and Angels and Demons is another one that he put out. And then there's a couple books that he's written as well called The Unseen Realm and I think Angels and Demons.
It's a documentary too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You should watch it.
Yep. It's really interesting. So what this is talking about says, when man began to multiply on the face of the land and the daughters were born to them. So this is the early man. This is after Adam and Eve. The world was starting to populate. And the sons of God. So the sons of God are referring to angels that were living in heaven with God. They saw that the daughters of man were attractive. So they fell in love with them. They had lust for them. And then they came to the earth and they took those women as their wives. And so they procreated with them, had children with them. And then the Nephilim is the product of those of that marriage between, or that the offspring of the sons of God and the women. So the Nephilim were known as giants in the Old Testament. So when you think about the Old Testament, you think about giants. Who was a giant? Do you remember who you remember as a giant in the Bible?
David and
Yes.
Goliath.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Let me hit this record button again. There it goes. So David and Goliath. So Goliath was a giant, right? And so the whole giants in the Bible thing has always intrigued me. Yeah. And as I started digging into it and reading about, Michael Heiser and some of his findings in the Bible and around the world and things like that, there's been bones of giants that have been found.
Really?
Yeah. And they have the Smith. Here he goes. He's pulling it up. So you can look at there's lots of documented findings of giants in the giants' bones found, and there's giant footprints even found. You see that? Isn't that crazy? So just down the road in Glen Rose, Texas, where you guys just went to camp at Riverside, is called Dinosaur State Park is there, right? And there's documented, and they found these footprints, these gigantic footprints, size, I think it's a size 25 shoe, would it be equivalent to? So about 16 inch foot, so gigantic foot. And in that foot is a dinosaur track. So what do you think? Does that mean dinosaurs and humans were around at the same time? If you have a dinosaur track in a giant human footprint, right? Isn't that weird?
This is tickling my brain.
A giant human with a dinosaur.
A giant human with a dinosaur. So I don't know. It's just super interesting. I mean, you could dive into this, but the Smithsonian, supposedly, I listen to tons of podcasts about this kind of stuff because it's very interesting. But apparently the Smithsonian is aware of this, and when any type of giant bones have been found, the Smithsonian Museum comes in and scoops them up, takes them and hides them.
Why?
Why? I don't guess they want us to believe that there were actually giants on this earth. What do you think about that?
It's kind of weird.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's a bit suspicious.
So get this. All right. So in the book, so if you want to look into more of this giant stuff in the Fallen Angels, the Book of Enoch is really good. We've talked about that. We bought that Ethiopian Bible.
Yeah.
It has all the different books in it. So the Book of Enoch is in that. I have a copy of the Book of Enoch on my phone. I've read through it. But Enoch gives an account of these fallen angels, right? These sons of God that came. So there's a mountain in the Middle East called Mount Hermon, and that's where these angels descended to and came to the earth on top of Mount Hermon. And in the Book of Enoch, and I don't have it pulled up right now, but it talks about each one. There was 200 of these angels that came down at that time. And then there was a handful of them, I want to say it was about 20 of them, that were the different leaders of these angels. And each one of these fallen angels actually had assignments that they had in heaven with that they were over. So one of them might have been over the wind. One of them might have been over the stars. One was over the sun and the moon. There's like different things. Maybe one was over wildlife, things like that. But they taught the humans different things, like how to make weapons, how to go to war, how to make themselves beautiful and deceitful, to women to put on like makeup and jewelry and stuff like that to be able to seduce men, how to make medications, right? How to mix different types of plants together to make medications and things like that.
And so psychedelic drugs come from that too?
I don't know if that came from that, but I mean, you could put those together and be like, is that where that came from? Because I was listening to, I think it was a Faith and Fiction podcast, and they were talking about this, and you hear about all these psychedelic drugs and all this kind of stuff. So one of them is called DMT.
Yeah.
And there's like certain ingredients that you have to mix from certain different plants. It's like 4 or 5 or 6 different plants you have to mix together to get this DMT. So makes you wonder, is like, how did somebody, you can't just figure that out, because it's been used for like centuries. Like DMT has been used for hallucinogenics and psychotropic medication for a long time. So where would somebody in the ancient times get this recipe to put all these different plants together to get this chemical that makes you trip out and see like other realms is what like you listen to Joe Rogan talk about it. He's like, people who do this see other realms.
Like Billy Strings had a whole story about when he took DMT for the first time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He said that it was like he saw this lady or whatever and she came and grabbed him and he shot up into the sky like above the universe and like saw all the universe and then all the way down to like a grain of salt in it or something like that. It was like a whole different thing.
Yeah. It's insane. So it makes you wonder, is that where that stuff came from?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but it's really interesting to think, there's got to be more to the story than what we've been told or what we believe. And I think there is. I think you have other resources, extra biblical texts and things like that that are, quote unquote, part of the Apocrypha, which is the hidden texts that are not a part of the Bible. I think you can get some more information from them. Are those all like, should you like, put a lot of weight behind those? Probably not. I mean, should you read it to try to understand more? I think is great. Like the Book of Enoch, for example, even like the early Christians, like first century Christians that were in Jesus even was aware of the Book of Enoch, probably read the Book of Enoch. Jesus's brother Jude, who is an author that's in the Bible, quotes the Book of Enoch in Jude. There's some other references to the Book of Enoch in the Bible. So are they books that we should probably be reading? Probably so. Probably should look into them. Should we put like a lot of emphasis on it? Probably not. But if you're interested in getting a deeper dive into like, where things came from and how things are, and there may be some questions in the Bible, things that are different or don't make sense, maybe you should dive into them and check them out. Yeah. John Asher's pulling up some scripture here. I'm not sure what he's looking for.
I'm trying to remember because I thought I read something because we were going through Acts together.
Yeah.
I thought I read something where it was like some kind of prophecy or something like that mentioned something like this, like around that kind of realm of just crazy stuff. But we'll see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? There was like something in here there was like prophecy and stuff like that, and how like talking about the end times in Acts.
Do you remember what it was in reference to?
I don't think it was it was a prophecy, but it was talking about like the time where Jesus, like, even though he rose from the grave, he ascended into heaven and the Holy Spirit came down.
Oh, you're looking at Acts 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was when talking about how he's going to come down the same way he went up.
Yeah, it talks about in like a cloud that comes.
Oh, yeah. So that's a direct reference to what John is talking about in Revelation. He comes down in a cloud. So, yeah, I mean, the book of Revelation is super interesting, too.
It's confusing.
I love Revelation so much.
Yeah. Have you read through it?
Not all of it, but I've I had this whole, me and John Asher, every single night I'd rant to John Asher about like prophecies that I'm seeing like actually happen on Earth and like prophecies that will come true and like just a bunch of questions I had.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So there's that, I guess a couple months ago, I sent you guys a Bible study that goes through verse by verse in the book of Revelation. If y'all want to do it together, we can start it.
Yeah.
You want to start that?
Sure.
We have time. It's the summertime.
Yeah.
And it's all, there's a podcast that goes along with each chapter of Revelation. And so it'll take us, several weeks to go through it, but it'll be a deep dive verse by verse.
Let's
do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. And then we can all kind of get that together. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Interesting stuff. It's just, there's so much more to the Bible than what, we're accustomed to getting. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes.
You saw something?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Why are you looking at me?
So, yeah, I mean, we can wrap it up from there. But, yeah, this is just to get back into, doing the podcast and trying to add some extra features to it, adding the video, having some more interesting conversations around the Bible. Most of the things that are fringe. You guys hear that buzzing or something?
Yeah.
What is that?
I wonder where that came from all of a sudden. So I guess we'll see.
The wire's loose.
It might be a wire loose somewhere. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, but be looking out for some shorts, looking out for videos on YouTube and everything. And then we'll just keep putting these out. And hopefully we can grow this podcast. So I have some exciting guests coming up. We got John Asher next week. We'll do the Meat Roll podcast next week with him, start off. And hope all this turns out well. Hope the recording sounds better and that we have less complications with everything. Mm-hmm. So with that said, that's the end of the podcast. Old Gorilla out.